art is in the eye of the beholder. No one knows that better than our next group of guests. Meet 3 African-American men in North Carolina who are creating visual art in different ways. They'll share their views on Black art and what it takes to truly thrive in their industry. Next on Black Issues Forum.
Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC TV.
To Black Issues Forum, I'm Deborah Holt-Noel. What is art? It probably depends on who you ask. Well, today we're asking 3 different visual artists who are making their marks quite literally here in North Carolina and beyond. In a moment, we'll talk with all of our men at art about their work and their views on issues that exist for African American artists in their field. But first, we're heading to Raleigh, Durham, and Greenville to meet 3 men at art.
Before we start this, I'm going to tell you what my love for art is about, and I want you to tell me in the comments as well. Paint me a picture. Give me to understand. My love for art is, it's not what you think it is. I think that's the best way to explain it. Most people just assume art is pictures, which for the most part it is. But art could be dance. Art could be, something that you're passionate about. For me, art is writing books. I love to write books. Tell me in the comments, what is art to you?
Eric.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you. Welcome to McRay Studios.
Thank you very much. And you said that you were going to clean up. Your
Yes.
studio is very neat and tidy. What did it look like before this?
No comment. This is a range of works that I create, my mixed media collages, my acrylics on canvas, acrylics on paper, different themes and series that I've worked on. Tend to work on themes such as jazz, iconography, African American culture, North Carolina imagery. So I kind of have a range of style and imagery I move back and forth through, but it's kind of fundamentally all brought together by my use of color. I use color to communicate emotion as well as the spirit of the individual. On 2 ends of my studio are large-scale collages, and this one is called Buddy's Pride and Joy. My grandfather was a farmer in Robeson County, so this kind of addresses my heritage as a North Carolinian, even though I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. And from my explorations and travels through North Carolina, I'd always see these old tobacco barns that initially I hated when I came as a city kid. And I grew to understand what they represented in the history and realize how beautiful they were. And then I would see folks who would adorn
We're in North Carolina.
Yeah, folks who would adorn these tobacco barns with different kinds of old signage. Once again, icons, Americana.
What do you call this collection here, and what's the theme?
Well, my Heart series, I guess that's the easiest title. My initial exhibition was called 100 Hearts. And what I wanted to do was take an icon that people were immediately familiar with, but then show it in a fashion they've never seen it before. So what I've done is woven images of things I've painted in the past, such as this Krispy Kreme or my jazz themes, some pop art imagery like Mickey Mouse, the sunflower images which were inspired by my mother. And all these things I've kind of woven into these pieces.
I want you to tell me something in the comments, something or someone that belongs in one of those hearts.
Initially there was 100, and then before you know it, I had painted over a period of time about 200 of these. I had an exhibition at North Carolina Central's museum, and they had a retrospective of my career. And Dr. Rogers there titled me a contemporary modernist. Well, then after I read the book that he wrote about my contribution to art, I understood what he was saying, that basically the work that I produced was all influenced by the works of artists between the mid-1800s to the 1960s, and that was considered the modernist period. So the range of works I produced kind of moved back and forth through those different themes and subjects and styles and impacts on the art world. So I use all those things I've educated myself with as vehicles, as tools to communicate ideas. So if I'm painting a jazz musician, I'm going to paint him in a fashion where you hear that music, you can see the invisible, you're going to feel that music, you're going to hear that music. I primarily work in acrylic paint. It's fast, clean, it's efficient. It's versatile. It does everything I need it to do. It's like magic to me. You know, it's just wonderful. Robert Motherwell said the intelligent artist keeps the history of art in their head. So in some ways, I've kind of filed away all these images, all these concepts. They're in my head. And that's a lifetime journey of reading, education, self-education, formal education. I have a degree in art. I've studied art. I worked professionally as an artist for a good portion of my life. It's my vocation, my great obsession, my calling in life. It's what I am, it's what I do. Right now I'm using the end of the brush as a drawing instrument. So now, this goes sgraffito, Italian term. Anyway, you're scratching back into the paint, and you're seeing the layers of things beneath the wet paint I applied. So now I'm kind of adding that what you call that sizzle. So now what I'm doing is adding these marks into the wet paint.
So we get the sizzle.
Yeah, that's the sizzle.
One day I was sitting home. This voice came to me and spoke to me. It says, "Go get some paint, some brushes, some canvas, and start painting." And later found out it was God speaking to me. So I got the canvas, I got the paint and the brushes, and started painting. And the first painting that I did was called Inspiration. Did the top portion in about a month, and the bottom portion, which is called Kissable, I did it in about a week's time. The pictures of my wife. When I finished it, I started crying with joy. It was almost like it was something that was instilled in me. I realized then that God had instilled a gift in me.
LeGrant's paintings are wonder-worthy, considering he started at the age of 40, never received any formal training, and has been painting for a relatively short period of time.
Tell me something in the comments that you've never received any formal training in, but you seem to be very great at it.
This is Man Cave, and it's the 2013 Professional Artist category winner at the North Carolina State Fair. They all teach me, all my paintings teach me something. And sometimes I get a really detailed spiritual message. In this one, I think the message that was speaking to me is that I could do something. Man Cave shows an old home place. It's my grandma's old kitchen, but the men always had a spot in that kitchen that they sat back and they had conversation and they talked about different things that was going on, and over a nice game of whether it be checkers or cards or whatever. But the pieces, they kind of intermingle. If you go on the back side of that barn, this is the dirt road that leads to that house right there. The idea, or the dirt road, is going to infinity, pretty much. It's called, No Looking Back. So this place that we're looking back, is, everything that we had to let go, things from the past. When I took this photograph, there was a image that came to me, and it was this image right here, the dirt road. It showed me all of that. And I had these people facing me. And I said, everybody with hats on, I said, y'all turn around, I want to take your picture. My brother was like, oh, I know where this is going. And so they all stood there and they was taking the picture. And something said, tell them to turn around. And I said, y'all turn around. And when they turned around, I took the picture. It was almost like, I saw this right here, and it said, "No looking back, no looking back." This piece is called "The Storm," and this represents you either going in a storm, you're in the middle of a storm, or you're coming out of a storm. And my focus on this piece was breast cancer. And that's the reason why I have the ladies, they're praying, and they're praying themselves through this storm.
And see, and this is the reason why I love this type of art, because every single piece of art tells a story, including this one. Let me know why you love art so much in the comments.
The ladies in the painting are the dancers at our church. And so I took them actually ministering and put it on canvas and kind of brought it to life. So yeah, so I get a lot of, this is a high inspiration piece.
You've done all this in 6 years.
In 6 years, yes. Not my gift, it's God's gift.
I work in pastels, which is a rare medium for a lot of artists because it's kind of difficult to work with. Watercolors are made from pastel. Pastel is like the powder pigment, and the pastel that I use, they actually have a little bit of binder in it so they can roll up into little sticks. Yeah, but I've mastered the medium, and I get a lot of joy in working with it. I came up in a very good family. I was very fortunate, and I've been to school with a lot of people who didn't have what I had, and I'm able to show that side that sometimes we don't get to see on TV, and so if they can see it in my work, it'll bring some type of happiness or, bring back some good feelings for some people.
For Richard, art, family, and his African American heritage are inextricably linked. It's a winning combination that has twice earned him recognition at the Pastel Society of America International Art Exhibition. A third win will qualify Richard as a master artist.
This was my one that kind of put me on the map,
What's it called?
Between Us.
And who's in it?
This is my oldest daughter, Baja, and my nephew, Montez Jr.
Richard appreciates his talent, which has earned recognition, awards, and distinguished commissions, like his portrait painting of George Henry White, the first African and Native American congressman after the Civil War. It hangs in the Edgecombe County Courthouse.
In a lot of my pieces, I have a lot of symbolism. This piece is called What the Future Holds. There's a hand here that represents God, family, community. And then in the signs it says, if you can imagine, you can achieve it. If you can dream it, you can become it. And the wind blowing represents obstacles we face in life, but we got to keep pressing forward. And then I have them above the clouds because the sky is not the limit. My shadow series is young people in the forefront, aspire to be like the trailblazers who came before them, like Jackie Robinson, Muhammad Ali, Althea Gibson. And it's just that they understand what those people went through and what they have done for society. This is a piece that I consider that my dad and I did together. I have his fingerprints here because we had talked about doing a piece together, but he passed away before I had a chance to do that. So I had his handprint put on a piece of paper, and then I drew around his fingerprints. This is my neighbor, Mr. Reverend Isaac Robinson, and he was actually sitting on his porch right before I was going to a show in New Orleans, and I saw him sitting there, and I was like, man, that's a painting right there. And so I took out my telephoto lens and I took a picture of him. Then I asked him, could I do a painting of him?
It's amazing how visionaries see something and instantly get inspiration towards creating something. You know, I could see a comedy show and instantly get to thinking about a drama book that I need to be writing. And he saw his neighbor sitting on the porch and saw artwork. That's amazing.
Because I wanted to do a piece to commemorate President Obama's inauguration. I drew him, and then I put an inauguration ticket in his hand. And then I went and found an old house down in Bethel, North Carolina, and then I drew him in front of the house, and I gave him the house number 44 because President Obama is the 44th president. And Mr. Robinson, he also is a veteran, and he lived through the civil rights movement. And I did this piece because I knew that a lot of artists were going to do paintings of President Obama, and I wanted to do something that represented the people that came before him that allowed him to be in the White House. And so I always like I said, I always like to do pieces that honor people who came before us, you know, that made a difference and made it a lot easier for me and others.
And we have all three men at art here in the studio with us. I'd like to welcome Eric McRay, LeGrant Taylor, and Richard D. Wilson, Jr.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Isn't there such thing as black art?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is it?
Depends on who you ask, but
I'm asking you.
But most people would perceive it as imagery of black people, African American history, African American culture, African people, whatever, any kind of range of our experience. But a lot of that art has become so profitable that you have anybody and everybody painting those images that represent our history and our culture, and they are not black people. They're not African American people. So what I like to think, anything I produce is black art.
LeGrant?
Well, I feel like, you know, I see so many people that come in and look at my art, and they don't necessarily say it's black art. They feel like they're in that moment. So, and I mean, these are not just black folk that look at it. It's people from, you know what? I call them Americans.
There you
and
go.
I'll say
Perfect.
Americans, and then I'll say any foreigners that actually see it. But whenever they see it, they get into the moment. They feel it. They understand it. And that's art, whether it be black art or any other art. But well, maybe we're the rare bird that we are black artists that are producing art.
What do you mean by rare bird? Are you talking about a certain isolation or marginalization that takes place amongst African Americans who are producing art?
Well, whenever you go to a lot of the art shows, the big art shows, rarely do you see African Americans and blacks actually there producing the art. And if you go to like the museum and you look around the art, you see very few black artists, as in African American artists that are there and portraying their work. So whenever we are at these festivals and we are at the museum, if we are in the museum, then there's fewer black artists there than there are any of the other artists.
Is that simply because there are fewer African American artists, or is there perhaps another reason?
I think there are a lot of black African American artists out there. I think sometimes they don't know about the opportunities, you know, and that's one thing that I do. I travel all over the country, and I see a lot of African American artists that come to the shows, and they want to know how do they get to do this, and I explain to them, you know, what they have to do, and then there. Just a lot of people are not exposed to this, you know, to what's out there. Because me, I didn't know what was out there. I had to go away to see. I went to Atlanta to really go. I went to a Black Expo in Atlanta just to view what was going on, because someone else had told me about that, and they said, you should be in this show. And so I went and I explored, And one of the artists there, Poncho Brown, he told me, he said, "You're doing something that a lot of artists do. They take the first step and they come to the show and they view it. And then he said, but you have to take the next step. You have to become part of the show." And so that's what I did. I made my point to do that. And I think that a lot of people don't have, in small communities like where I came from, they don't see that. And that's why I made it a point, like when I do shows, sometimes I go to schools and I speak to the young people and let them know what's out there, what the opportunities are.
Well, growing up in Washington, D.C., I was exposed to a lot of art. Went to National Gallery, to Corcoran, galleries, museums that people would travel around the world to come to, and I could get there in 20 minutes on a bus. But when you go home is another story, because here and it was all of us in a mixed group who were in the same room. But when we went home, it depends on the education of the parents and their appreciation of art and how art is depicted or how it's perceived, or the value of an artist. So I was fortunate that my family encouraged me. They said, "Oh, you have a gift, you have a talent." And my brother and my mother especially really pushed me to say, "You can do something with this." But I can't say that many people around me had that same kind of appreciation, because it's not something that's really nourished. We have no shortage of talent in our communities. It's just that is there the appreciation.
Have new technologies helped you more than hurt, or hurt more than helped?
Definitely helped.
Yeah.
Definitely helped, because the technology then allows the individual to access the public without having to go through a gatekeeper who says, "Okay, I'm going to publish this." And like Richard said, I remember the days when you would go to these big print houses and publishers and so forth, and they would pay you royalties, and some people never received their royalty checks. Right. If anything, often we were exploited by some of these print houses. But now with the internet, with less expensive printing processes, you're able to take more control of your career, to be able to manage the work you do and put it out there through social media, the internet, email, whatever method you want to use. I mean, I've even text message images to folks, and next thing you know, have an exhibition lined up.
Do you worry about loss of control when you're texting and the whole electronic media thing?
No. I mean, years ago it used to be, it was a paranoia about somebody stealing your images, but that's almost inescapable now.
That's the chance you have to
that's
take,
just the world we live in now. I mean, someone can take your picture in public, and next thing you know, you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook. It's just the world we live in. It's being but then also you have control to be able, like Richard said, to access the public directly.
What piece of your work is most meaningful to you? LeGrant?
I would say No Looking Back. It talks about the future. It talks about where we're going, and it just teaches so much. I had a lady that stopped by my booth one day, and she was asking me, she was like, "What is this picture with all these people turned around?" And I said, "Oh, let me explain it to you." So I had this little piece that I read and explain it to them to actually what's going on. I said, "Okay, I want you to look at the painting, and I'm going to tell you a story." And I told her the story. And when I got to the part where I said, not no looking back, but no looking back, no looking back, she went straight into tears. And it just hit her, and she understood. And I said, well, there was something in her past that actually clicked. But I think at that particular time, she released whatever it was. So No Looking Back has definitely been a staple for me in art by LeGrant.
And I know it's an unfair question to each of you because you have so much, but meaningful, Eric.
My goodness, that's a tough question. In a year, I could paint 150 pieces in a year.
Do you happen to remember your first commission piece, or the piece that got you the the check that you're like, oh my God?
I was hesitant to say this, but I was in college, and I was in art school in Baltimore, and I was a young man, and I had the attitude that I could make this happen, and I painted this painting called Float. And that piece it just gave me immediate critical acclaim. I was in the Baltimore Herald and And the attorney came to me and purchased the piece. And I rushed out immediately and bought lots of noodles, you know, ramen noodles, whatever. That was college food. But it was the fact that I had received a sizable check for this painting, and it was once again, another validation. The journey as an artist is a series of validations, whether it's starting home with your family and your mom says, that looks great. And you're like, well, does it really? Right. And then you ask the next person and they validate you. And not that you're defined by other people, but you live in a world with other people. Right. And so you want to know that your art connects with people, it communicates. You're not just delusional. Yes. And so I would say that painting, Float, it's in Baltimore now. And a matter of fact, I went to the lady and tried to buy it back from her, but she said, she said, Eric, if I had a nickel in my pocket, I might consider selling it back to you, but I doubt if you'll get it back.
Yeah.
Richard.
Well, it's like choosing between my children, but all my work is of my children. So, but I have to say, it could be two right now, or three. It's between us and Push Daddy Push, because those two won me the international awards, and I only have to win one more. And between us is my oldest daughter. So I took that piece off the market, the original. I sell prints of it, but I took the original off the market, passed it down to my oldest daughter. And Push Daddy Push is my youngest daughter, so I took that off the market and gave it to her. So the next one's going to be my middle child. And when I win that award, that's going to be hers. And then now the Muhammad Ali piece, In His Shadow Muhammad Ali piece with my dad.
Incredible, each of your journeys. I again wish each of you
Thank you so
tremendous
much.
and growing
Thank
success.
you for having us here.
Absolutely.
What an honor. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Eric McRay, LeGrant Taylor, and Richard Wilson Jr. for sharing their art and creativity with us today. To get information about today's show or watch Black Issues Forum online, visit us.
Well, there's a few things I like to say. First off, if you consider yourself to be an artist, I would love to know exactly where do you put your artistic genius in? You know, what field of art are you in? Secondly, if you know someone that is the artist, please bring them to this video. I would love to know a little bit more about them as well as you. But and also all the websites that was listed in this video, so you can maybe directly go to those artists' websites. It will be in the description box below. But as always, don't forget to like, share, watch more videos, and subscribe to the channel.